Hey there, guys. How you doing? Come on in, come on in, come on in. This is your girl, Dr. Avis, and I just wanted to come to you tonight to talk about a topic that I wanted to talk about earlier, but it got kind of bumped, preempted. I had a scheduling conflict, so I had to push it back. But I'm hoping that you are still interested in hearing about the topic that I want to broach tonight, and that is this issue of Loretta Lynch, right? And her defending the NFL and really thinking about how that relates to our history in a broad sense. So, from Willie Lynch to Loretta Lynch, and what you do not have to do, sis, in order to get ahead. How you doing, guys? As you come on into space, let me know who's here. I'd love to be able to shout you out. My name is Dr. Avis. I'm an award-winning author, a media commentator, I call myself a diversity, equity, inclusion renegade and seven-figure CEO. I am also the creator of a brand new training that we're going to be having in just a little bit under 2 weeks on Black Women Appreciation Day, March 1, called Doing You, a New Revolution in Black Womanhood. You can sign up right now at blackwomanrevolution.com, blackwomanrevolution.com. And this is really why I wanted to have this talk tonight. Hey there. Great to see you, Sheila. How you doing, sis? Hey there, Shillette. How are you? Great to see you guys. This is why I wanted to have this talk tonight, because at the center of this is a Black woman, right? Loretta Lynch. I was a little shocked and appalled, to say the least. I was a little shocked and appalled when I heard the news that she was going to be representing the NFL in the racial discrimination lawsuit that they are currently facing. In fact, I just got off of BNC Prime Time talking about this tonight. And I have to say it was shocking for a couple of different reasons. Number one, if you know anything about Loretta Lynch, she is the first and only Black female U.S. Attorney General that we've ever had in the history of this nation. She was appointed towards the tail end of the Obama administration. You might recall that when she was going through the process of being confirmed, she's a Delta. There were tons of Deltas that were showing up in Congress, sitting there and just putting the pressure on to make sure that there was no funny business that was going to go on in terms of her confirmation process. And she was successfully confirmed and served as the U.S. Attorney General for a few years towards the end of Obama's second term. And I say all that to say that she goes down in history for that, right? And in that moment where she was being judged with regards to that confirmation process, which we all know is not necessarily a rubber stamp, right? The Black community came out strong to support her as she went, hey, what's up, Sherbert? As she went for that particular historic position. And fast forward a few years, she's back in the private sector. She's working for a major law firm. And not so surprisingly, when the NFL gets sued for racial discrimination in terms of their practices as it relates to their hiring of coaches, all of a sudden, what do they need to defend them in court? Not surprising that they wanted a Black face, but it's particularly disturbing that someone so historic has agreed to serve in that capacity. And so I wanted to talk about this. Before I talk about this, let me just say this. I don't know what's going on in Linda and Loretta Lynch's head. I am not a mind reader. I am not clairvoyant. Okay. Maybe she authentically has some strong belief that the NFL is being done wrong. Okay. Maybe she just wants to defend the NFL because she feels like it is just in the interest of justice. Maybe she really thinks that. Okay. However, I just want to put that out there. However, okay, Lord have mercy. When I think about this in relation, thank you. When I think about this in relation to history, and I definitely think money is not irrelevant, but when I think about this in relation to history, I don't believe that what we're seeing here is an aberration. In fact, I would argue that what we're seeing here is a common tactic that is used in oppressive systems in order to be able to more easily get away with their oppression. I mentioned in terms of the title of this particular live, this issue between Willie Lynch and Loretta Lynch. And I don't know if everyone here knows who Willie Lynch is. I don't even know if he's a real person. There is some debate about whether or not Willie Lynch was a real person or whether it's completely fictional. But there is a writing that has been part of sort of Black nomenclature for quite a while, which specifically talks about a speech that was supposedly made by a white slave owner from the West Indies, a speech that he gave to Virginian slave owners to keep their slaves under control. Okay. And I just want to read just a little bit of that to you, because what I am suggesting here is that even if this is fictitious, even if this is totally fictional, like I said, this is a little bit of a debate in history whether or not this is real or myth. Okay. Either way, when you hear the sort of arguments that are placed here, I want you to understand that these arguments, though, are very real issues that we do continue to face today. Okay. And so here's an example. Okay. This was, I said, Willie Lynch has given advice around how to make sure that slaves are, in essence, kept under control. Okay. This is the outline for action that he gave slave owners. The Black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, what he's about to share with them, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pit the old Black male against the young Black male, and the young Black male against the old Black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves against the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must have white servants and overseers who distrust all Blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves must trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. It goes on from there, but I wanted to sort of pull that little segment out, because what is that talking about? It is talking about creating internal division as a strategy for strife and subjugation. Yes? It is talking about creating internal division as a strategy for subjugation that allows continuous domination by the oppressing class. I provide that example to say that it is not unusual. It is not unusual, not only in this culture, but in cultures all around the world, for oppressive systems to sort of recruit individuals from the oppressed communities to wield them as weapons against those who they are oppressing. Are you following here? Is this making sense? It is not unusual that oppressive systems carry out their oppression, are the masterminds of their oppression, are the puppet masters of the oppression of others, oftentimes through utilizing a subpopulation of the very people they are seeking to oppress. That's not unusual. So, for example, when you think about the apartheid era in South Africa, much of the police force that was going through places like Soweto, beating people, killing people, kidnapping people, were Black policemen. You know, this is not unusual that oppressive systems take a subsection of the oppressed and pit them against the other. with the understanding that those people who are being pit against the others who are like them, right? They will receive some sort of benefit for being the tool of oppression against their own people. Is this making sense, guys? So this is a practice that I would say is centuries old. I mean, I just give you, that one example. It's not, I'm not picking on South Africa. That's not the only example. This is a centuries old example. It's not just a black and white example. It is a common theme just in terms of human nature, that oftentimes oppressors will use a portion of the oppressed as the weapons wielded against the rest of them. And they will give those people who are willing to do that to their own people certain benefits, right? A level of elevated status, money, at least protection or perceived protection against the type of oppression that the rest of the people in their communities face, that they are in essence shielded from that because they're used as a weapon to perpetuate the oppression. All right. Is that are you getting me here? And so what I'm saying is this is a common system of behavior in human nature when you have systems that include oppressors and those who are being oppressed. Why am I bringing this up in relation to this issue of Loretta Lynch? I am bringing this up because this happens all the time, and it does not have to be as high profile as an NFL and a Loretta Lynch. It does not have to be as broad and human rights sort of driven as what I referred to in terms of apartheid South Africa. It can be as simple as someone in an organization who looks like you, who is undermining you because they believe it helps them. That's not going to make the news, right? That's not going to be in the newspapers. That's not going to be written about in history, but it happens. Okay, but it happens. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit tonight because I want to be able to address this issue, that there is a price to be paid for that. There is a price to be paid for that. You cannot make me believe that those people who engage in that behavior are able to ride off into the sunset and never feel any sort of negative repercussions of that. I will give you a quick example of Stacey Dash. Remember her? Used to be started off as an actress, right? And then had this stint on Fox News, seemed to be very, very anti-Black in a lot of her commentary. She's no longer at Fox News. And now all of a sudden, when she can't get any work, right? Now all of a sudden, when the community is no longer embracing her, now all of a sudden she has this epiphany that, oh my goodness, I now love Black people again. The point is, though there may be benefits in the short term, I do not believe that those benefits are long lasting. I believe that if you want to advance your career in some way, that there are better ways to do it. There are better ways to do it than by being that person who is in essence a tool of oppression for your own people, your own colleagues, those people who are there in the trenches with you, right? And so I say all that to say this, for me, is a key reason why it's so important for, I believe, us to really be able to get together to say, what are some ways that we can make sure that people have, writ large, opportunities to reach their greatest potential, but without feeling like in order to reach their greatest potential, they have to hurt someone else to do it. Without feeling like in order to reach their greatest potential, they need to make sure that they are slamming the door because it's only enough room in a room. They only need to have one person that looks like them in that room. If you get where I'm going with this, right? Right? I agree, Siriaka. I'm very deeply disappointed. So, it's important for us to understand that there is enough space for all of us here. There's enough room for all of us in this space of abundance. There is enough for everybody to win. There is enough for everybody to win. But I fully believe that for everybody to win, we have to work together. We cannot fall for the whole okey doke in terms of the strategy that was described in that Willie Lynch letter, because it is so easy to point the finger at each other, to have internal dissension, to have disunity, to have hatred for one another, right? In some way, shape, or form. And that then creates the situation or creates the environment that maintains a status quo that keeps us all subjugated. There will be a moment when even that person that thinks that they're on the good side of the oppressor gets their wake-up call, and they find out, actually, no, you're really not part of them. You're not one of them. Okay? It is not a long-term strategy for success. The long-term strategy for success is about us understanding how to work together to break those boundaries that exist that we all have to fight against. That is what it is. It's about us being that sort of tight-knit community that together lock our arms together to spend time with one another, share information with one another, share networks with one another. And in the process, we all are climbing, literally lifting as we climb. That right there is the way. The way is not being used to be able to do the dirty deed, because you provide in this moment, your skin is an asset in order to maintain systems of oppression against other people that look like you. That is not the answer. That can never be the answer. All right? I say all this to say, you guys, this is so much why I am so looking forward to the Black Woman Revolution event, because what I'm excited about sharing is that other way that I just referred to, is that other path that I just talked to, is that goal of lifting as we climb. That is the answer. That right there is the answer. And it's figuring out, how do we share the information, the space, the community that's necessary in order to help us all rise. I believe we can all win. And the reason why I believe that so fervently is because I believe that we live in a nation, in a land, in a world of abundance. And I also believe it's true because I know that, there is also always space to create something new. If you're in one place, I don't know how, Loretta is part of a law firm. I guess the law firm received the contract. I don't know if they specifically requested that they probably did. Okay. Because that would have been honestly strategic on their part. But just imagine if she would have just said no. Imagine if Loretta would have just said, no, I don't want to do it. And if it meant losing her job, understanding that there is a million other law firms out there, understanding that she could start her own damn law firm, understanding that this is a world of abundance, and there is never a price that's high enough for you to be willing to sell your soul. At least there shouldn't be. Yes. And so I have to say that this is a type of conversation that we need to be brave enough to have. This is the type of conversation that we need to be brave enough to face. We cannot get to where we need to go as a people who has so many, obstacles still in our way. And if anything, things are getting worse right now. You guys know it as much as I do, right? Just the timbre of this nation, the increase, for example, in hate crimes, all of this ridiculous fodder that people have around critical race theory, and they don't even know what the hell it is. Okay. And I can say that I do, as a theoretical underpinning of my dissertation, and all the stuff that they're talking about in terms of critical race theory, it is not. Okay. It is a political tool that they're using to fan flames of racism in this country that oftentimes you have to deal with when you are in the boardroom, when you are in conference meetings, when you are sitting there trying to talk to Johnny's teacher. You know, these things are not in isolation. They impact our lives in various different ways. We have to navigate them. And imagine how much stronger we would each be if we weren't feeling like we were always having to navigate all of these landmines by our damn selves. Imagine how much more powerful we would be if we had a unified front with which we could navigate this very dangerous path. Imagine what that would be like. That only happens when you have unity. That only happens when you have community. That only happens when you share information. That only happens when you create powerful networks. That's how that happens. For us to get to where we need to go, we need to understand that we can't just try to get there all by ourselves all the time. We have to take the time to learn from one another, to lift up one another, to be there for one another, right? And so I had to take a few moments to talk about this issue with Loretta Lynch because that news brought all those feelings out in me. Like, really, sis? Like, really? All these Black women up here fighting for you and you want to turn around and do this? Come on now. Made me feel like that. And it also at the same time made me feel like this whole vision around the Black Women Revolution event is right on time. Is right on time. Because we are going to be talking about how we can create that alternative reality, right? That anti-Willie Lynch mentality, that mentality that's about unity and about collective advancement and not about stabbing each other in the back, right? So with that said, I just have to say, unashamedly, if you haven't already signed up, I'm hoping that you're going to sign up. We're going to have an amazing, powerful event. As I mentioned, it's going to take place on Black Women Appreciation Day, which is March 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be training on various different tools that you'll need in order to be able to have the career you want, the bank account you want, and the life that you deserve, okay? As Black women, we deserve it all, and it's time we got it, okay? With that said, you are welcome. It is so good seeing you all here tonight. So good to see all the late risers here. You are welcome, Janet. I felt bad about that too, Janet. It bopped me in my feelings too, Shalette. But I had to come on here and share this with you guys because I found this to be, it was one of those moments where you kind of roll your eyes and be like, really, sis? Okay. I just had to vent. You are welcome. So good seeing you guys this evening. I hope y'all have a wonderful evening. I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks at the Black Woman Revolution event. Make sure that you are signed up at blackwomanrevolution.com. I'll see you guys soon. Take care, guys. Bye.